We're in Parshat Noach, and it happens to be the case that Reb Nachman has a lot of Torahs that have something to do with that parsha. So I want to particularly go through this Torah Kuf Yud Bet 112, which I think is a very essential Torah, and go through it as carefully as possible. So probably can't go through the whole thing today, but maybe we'll continue with that on Thursday until we get to the point where we're ready to go deeper into what he's dealing in this Torah, which is continued in Torah number 9. But Torah 112 is like the gateway into this whole issue. So I want to start with that. I think I'll rely on one of my on a niggun that I can pretty confidently say I can sing correctly, and so I'll do that one. This one from the old Breslov or Dveikus niggun, which goes like this: ay 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 ay. Ay, 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 So this is a Torah number 112. Which was a Torah that Reb Nachman spoke directly to Reb Nosson. And Reb Nosson was early in their relationship, and Reb Nosson was living in Nemirov, and his family hated Reb Nachman. It was complete misnagdim, and they would do anything they could to stop Reb Nosson from going to see Reb Nachman. So Reb Nosson was having a hard time in Nemirov, and one day while he was contemplating, he just had this strong feeling. He could feel Reb Nachman in Breslov, and so he said to himself, there's a person like Reb Nachman is over there in Breslov, and it's so close to Nemirov, and I'm really like suffering so much here with my family. I have to somehow go and see Reb Nachman. Of course, he didn't have internet and Zoom. He had to go from Nemirov to Breslov. So, but he had made a deal with his family, and this was, I think, in the summer, and his family said, well, you can go see Reb Nachman, but don't go until after Hanukkah. And so, but Reb Nosson really wanted to see Reb Nachman. He had this feeling he just had to go see Reb Nachman, and he didn't know what to do because he had made this agreement. He told his father that he wouldn't go till Hanukkah. And so it was in the morning, and then he realized, he said, well, his father eats lunch, and Breslov isn't that far from Nemirov. So he decided when his father's eating lunch, he'll slip away and go over to see Reb Nachman and Breslov. And because it was close, he'll be able to be back for dinner. And nobody will know the wiser. His father will never even know that he went to see Nachman. So his father sat down to eat lunch, and Reb Nachman says, here's my chance. And he goes out and starts walking over. Maybe he was riding a horse. I think he was either riding a horse or walking. And mittendrin, and was on the way to Breslov, and it starts pouring. It just absolutely starts pouring. And he gets completely soaked. He's walking in or riding through this terrible storm. And he doesn't even get to Breslov until Reb Nachman is davening Marav. And he comes in all bedraggled, and he tells Reb Nachman why he's there in the story. And this Breslover tradition says he told Reb Nachman all this story about his family and all these things that he was dealing with. And Reb Nachman says, as es ist gur schlecht, sieht man sich zu emes. So when things are really schlecht, when things are really, really, really bad, there's an inner force that pulls you in the direction of emes, in the direction of what's really true. And he says, wie is for the emes, that you have this feeling inside you. The worse things are, the more you have this feeling. So where is emes? Where is the truth anyway? There's something, there's something like, because everything is interconnected, and everything comes from a single source, and everything is really one process. It's this one evolving evolutionary process. But as we know, as if you were there on Sunday when we had the shir, that if you're going to have a tikkun, you have to have a shvira. And so the shvira, it seemed like the worse the shvira is, the worse things fall apart if you are on the level of a sur lehitya esh, that you've come far enough that you know that this is the way things go. So you just can't cop out and say, okay, it's all over. I'm not going to do anything. I'm not going to make any effort because I have no hope. There isn't such a situation, but rather you know a sur lehitya esh. When you know a sur lehitya esh, so you know, in all likelihood, if things are so bad, there must be like a ray of emes that is available to me right in this moment when everything is so terrible. And the worse it is, the deeper and purer the emes is that the attraction to what's really true. It's like you can be satisfied with a little emes if things aren't so bad, but when things are really bad, it has to be the emes shebe'emes. You're looking for the bottom, that which is absolutely true without any doubt. That's what is calling to you when it's in such a situation. So that is when it says Azar Marlu Rebbeinu HaTorah Kuf Yud Bet, and that is when Rabbi Nachman just gave over this Torah to him. So here's the Torah that he gave to Reb Nachman. At that time, his Torah is called Zohar. It's on the verse that is in the Parshat Noah. It's Genesis 6:16. And the verse says, Zohar ta'aseh l'teva ve'el ama tichalena milamala. Is a Zohar, you should make it Zohar course, the pshat is that's so hard. We have to understand, what does the Torah mean? What can we learn from these letters of Torah, which are tzadi, hey, reish? That the Torah says you should make this tzadi, hey, reish for the teva, which teva can mean the ark, but it can also mean word, for the word. The el ama tichalena, you should. It should go all the way up to within a cubit from the top. Ufetach teva b'tzidah, and there should be a petach, an opening in the word or in the ark, which is the pshat is known as the ark that he's instructed how to make this yana, this vessel. B'tzidah, tzidah would seem to mean in the side, but you really have to read in the tzadi daled, right? Because we don't know exactly. Tzadi daled could mean who knows what it means if we want to go below, deeper than the surface. So this says, make an opening in the teva. You should put in the tzadi daled. And then tachtim, shniyim, shlishim, ta'aseh. You should make it on 3 levels. It should have 3 distinct levels. And then he says, Perish Rashi. Rashi says about Tzadi Hey Reish. What does Rashi say? He says, Yesh Omrim Even Tov. Some people think that Zohar means a jewel stone, a precious stone. V'yesh omrim chalon, and some people think it means a window, right? So it might mean a gemstone, or it might mean a window. So here's the Torah goes. Now here's what Reb Nachman says. He says, Hine yodua ki saviv risha'im yithalachon. That's Psalms 12:9 says, as we know, the verse says that the wicked wander around surrounded by a fog. There's just like they can't see the light, they can't see their way, they don't know where they're going. So they're wandering saviv, there's something sovev, something is in front of them, around them, on all sides. So they don't, so in other words, they're fablunged, they're confused, they don't know where they're going, right? So, ki hasitra achra, Misabevet HaKedusha. And so what does it mean? Why is it that the Rishayim, what is the Rishayim? Of course, I don't like to say the wicked, because that would be the old Torah of judgment. So in the compassionate, kind way of looking at people, I would say it means those who are led astray by their not yet evolved personalities. Right? So their personalities just have not, because all beings are evolving. The evolutionary, the divine process, the will of the source is evolving everything so that it can recognize its full potentiality, know itself in every possible way, and see the full extent of its beauty. So, but this is happening in the most marvelous way, that you have all these different madrigot. So everybody has their own path, and they're proceeding at their own rate, because everyone has to proceed. The process, in order to really be of any meaning, it has to have bichirat. It has to be, people have to be free to decide what they want to do, for better or worse. And in a certain sense, there isn't any worse. It's just the way it goes, right? Because let me interject one thing here. I think that there is a tradition that says there are basically 3 means of evolving. Right? There's 3 means of evolving, and depending on the what quality of light, what ray of light your soul is a reflection of. When I say what quality of light, the three, we're talking about the three, you know, we talk about the three pillars. There's the chesed side, the gevura side or din, and the line, the kav of that's in the center, the amuda emtsaita, which is the rachamim side. That's the rachamim ray, where we want to get to in making the shift, of course, because in rachamim, then you don't have this dialectical antinomy between yes and no, right and wrong, but rather you have this ability to be above the opposites so that you can hold everything. You can hold everything together. So it depends, depending on whether a manifest individual is reflecting and vibrating to really the extensions that come from Keter, Chachma, and Bina. Keter, Chachma, and Bina. So the three primary lights. And the Keter light, Keter is the light of Ratzon. Is that meaning will? It's the light of will. So that it's Keter is driving the whole thing, that everything manifests because there's a divine will for it to manifest. Right? So that's the top point, at the top of the top triangle is this point of Ratzon, of divine will. And if a person or an entity is vibrating and reflecting that light, the light that is coming directly and ultimately from the Ratzon source, from Keter, then the way they evolve is by immediate cutting off of anything that needs to be gotten beyond. It's a way, it's cutting through. There's like in Dzogchen, there's a practice level where it was just immediately, if something arises which attachment to it would result in confusion, then the practice is just cut it off at its root. Because the second you see it, you just slice it off and cut right through. But to do that, to have the power to do that, you have to have the energetic current, the wisdom current that's flowing down directly from Ratzon. You have enough power to just you assert your will and just push aside any obstacle. You see? So but there are two other ways, because not everybody is vibrating to the kav of Ratzon. Very few personalities are actually on that level, that they have the koach, they have the will. It's very hard to develop that will. If you have it, it's tremendous, because you can just spread the curtain of darkness instantaneously before it becomes so thick that you lose your connection to the truth. So that's one way. Now the second way is the Chachma way. Suppose you have a neshama whose source is the light of Chachma, is the wisdom light. Now the wisdom light is on the side of Chesed. Right? Chesed comes from wisdom. That's the Chesed side. If you're on the side of Chesed, you're basically a wisdom being, or as the Theosophists would say, a wisdom love being, because that's where the Chesed comes from. Chachma, it's wisdom love. If your soul is on the side of wisdom love, which thank God mine is, that's whatever I have done in my past, at some point, fortunately, I was able to see that's who I was and not feel embarrassed about it. But anyway, probably a lot of us are on that side, because that's probably why we're here, because that's certainly the light that my neshama is reflecting and receiving and feels most comfortable with. Recognizes, like for me, that's where I find emes in the Chachma love light and wisdom light. There are people who are more on a Ratzon level. Like you take some, I give you an example, like from contemporary, two examples from recent really great, I think major spiritual teachers. One would be Gurdjieff, who if you look at everything he says is about will. You can't do anything because you have no will. Everything is, you don't see him. I mean, he has the, because he's very evolved, of course, there's a wisdom light, wisdom love light that is part of Gurdjieff's teaching. But I think anyone who's spent a lot of time looking at his teaching, you're not going to say Gurdjieff is primarily a teacher of wisdom love. He's basically, he's a teacher of will, of doing power, getting the power to do. And I think that the Theosophists basically say that Madame Blavatsky was on the same ray as Gurdjieff. It was just like a tremendously powerful personality. So what is the way of the wisdom light? If your neshama is energized by wisdom love light, then you're going to transform. Your practice is going to be a transformative practice. You don't push away. You transmute now and transform. So that's what, of course, where the teaching that this is all based on is called Hasidus, because that's what Hasidus, I once said at one time in a class in Philadelphia, which was quite memorable many years ago. And I was asked to teach something there. And I said, okay, I'm going to teach Hasidus. And I said, the definition of Hasidus is the science of love. Hasidus is the science of love. And I remember when I first met Zalman, early on, when I first met Reb Zalman, and he told me, he said the reason that Zalman grew up, like, he wasn't like his whole family weren't Hasidim. I mean, he had a secular education, and he was a very modern person, but he had like I think Belzer background on his father's side or something like that. But Zalman made his own decision when he was about 17 or something, when he got the opportunity to learn how to be a jewel cutter. And he was working with the jewel cutters, and the jewel cutters were Chabadniks. So he met this Lubavitchers, and while they were teaching him how to cut precious stones, were teaching him Hasidus. So he said the reason he became a chassid is because it was a transformative practice. It's like if something comes up that, I give you an example, like I'll give you an example from Naropa. When I was at Naropa, they used to, every year they had a tradition that they would cast an I Ching. One day, there's a special day every year, they would cast an I Ching, and sometimes the person who did the casting, they would get a reading, and it would seem nishki, not such a good, a good prognosis, not such a good prophecy, but. So Zalman said one time they got such a terrible, what appeared to be a really terrible, really schlecht, right? Really schlecht. And Zalman said, We have a teaching in Hasidus that if you get a bad dream, if you get a dream that seems bad, just give it a new interpretation. You just reinterpret it. You don't accept the bad dream. You transform it into a blessing. That is the Chochmah. That's the wisdom love way. Whatever comes, you don't push it away. That's so. If you're on the Keter Ratzon, will, power, if you have that type of soul, then yeah, you use your force to eliminate your problems. But if you are an emanation on the love wisdom ray, it's more subtle. You make a virtue of necessity. And that is the essence of Hasidus. You're making a virtue of necessity. Whatever happens, asur lihityaesh. Just make it into something good. See? So that's the second way. But the third way, if you're not, what's the third way? Is if your neshama is an emanation from Bina, right? Keter is will, Chochmah is love, wisdom, Bina is mevin devar, learn. One thing leads to another. One thing leads to another. That was like Chabad. That's why I'm in Breslov, not in Chabad. That's what go with Reb Nachman, because Reb Nachman is love, wisdom. If you go in Chabad, you listen to the Middler Rebbe, and you have to read through 29 pages before he finishes one single point. So what am I saying? Because what is the way? If a person is on the side of their neshama is rooted in Bina, nothing is ever wrong. The way I'm explaining this is to get back to the idea that there is no Rasha. There's Reb Nachman. No, listen, what does Reb Nachman say? He says, Od ma'at ve'ein Rasha. Just a little more good points. Just find another way that you can see the good, and the not good disappears. That's Reb Nachman's way. See the good point. And that transform it into something good. See it from the positive perspective. But if you're on the side of Bina, you don't transform something. What do? You exhaust it. You let it exhaust itself. So when you come to say, you could look at certain people and you say, oh, this person needs a lot of work, and you could look at them, but you want to bless them. You don't give up on them, but you have to understand that because of free will, even the person in whom it is hardest to see the light of the good point, that person is still going to make it. It was still part of the evolutionary process. They're going to make it, but they have to exhaust all of their karma before they're going to get there. Now, of course, they may get to a certain point where they have exhausted enough karma. You can get to a place where you can switch over to the love wisdom side. So, but you have to, you give them a chance. It's going to play out for them the way it needs to play out. So there's these three ways that everybody's going to make it. Some are going to make it because they have so much willpower that they're just going to break through from one strength to another. They go from one strength to another. An obstacle comes, bang. They just get back into a really strong place. The other people are going to make it because of the magical transformative power of wisdom and love, which enables them to see how you can make something beautiful out of something that doesn't look good, beautiful. And some people don't have the power to push it aside. They don't have the subtlety and chen, the power of creative divine grace, which can transform something into its opposite. which is the way of Hasidus. But even so, because everything is being driven by divine will, and the purpose is ultimately good, those people will eventually, if you don't interfere with them and make anything worse, let them exhaust their karma. That's the kindness you have to display to them. You have to give them the opportunity for them to do everything they need to do, because once they've gotten rid of everything that they can't stop themselves from doing, and they don't have the power, they don't have the subtlety and a wisdom to transform, it's all going to just burn itself out. Right? So there's three ways that that the Rasha is blessed. There's three ways that the Rasha that any Rasha will eventually reach a point where there'll be very little left for them to transcend. But as long as they're in the condition, as it says here, the verse says, "Saviv Rashayim Yitalchun." A person has a lot of karma. They can transform. They don't have the power to shatter it, to make a shvira, so they can do a tikkun. Then they're in a fog, so they're surrounded by darkness. Ki sitra achra misabevada kedusha, because the sitra achra is surrounding the holiness in them. So there's the spark of holiness is certainly present, but it's just completely surrounded in some cases by so much confusion, so much darkness, that they can't get to the holiness. Ki edzeh l'umat zeh asah, that's Ecclesiastes, that the dark side and the light side correspond to each other, and ultimately it's all one. There isn't anything that is other. But you have there is the side of the Rasha and the side of the Tzaddik, and we're all dealing with a side that needs to be either overcome directly if you're in the Keter line, transform gently and creatively if you're on the love wisdom, or else you just have to have Erech Apayim. God waits forever for the karma of the people who have Bina souls to exhaust itself. And this is like, especially in the case of a person has, in the course of their present life, they're just, they've already developed all these, let's say, not good habits, not helpful habits. Nimshach achar averot, the Ketav Yud says, Tavo Raot, they're subject to desires that aren't helping them evolve faster. Chas v'sholem, God forbid. V'nimshach achar sitra achar. So these people are still in a stage of evolving where they can help themselves from being led astray by forces that do that. The sham makomo chas v'sholem, if that's the person's level at that particular time, v'hem misabuvin oto mikol tzad, then they are surrounded on all sides by negative entities. As in Nachman says, because so everything, I'll try to explain this a little bit from, I think it is not different than what our tradition is understanding, but I first really understood this deeply studying Gurdjieff, and One of the important things in Gurdjieff, if you read Beelzebub's Tales, all and everything, is that he's basically saying that everything is in a feeding chain. The whole universe is one huge feeding chain. So everything is getting energy from somewhere. It gets energy from somewhere, and it gives energy to something else. And in Gurdjieff's system, there's basically two choices. You can either understand your place in the universe and know what to eat and how to digest what you eat. Well, what you eat doesn't just it doesn't just mean, like, he has 3 types of food. It's not just what we understand as food. As Gurdjieff says, basically we are feeding on things that we take into our digestive system, the physical digestive system, and transform it into forms of energy. We're also feeding on the air. This is like the second type of food is the chayut, the chi, the prana. And the third type of food is machshavot, is the what he calls impressions. And in a way, we're least conscious of how we are being fed by these impressions around us. A lot of that happens totally unconsciously. So until we can become very conscious, very aware of what we actually are here and the role that we're playing, there are all kinds of entities that are very happy to just gobble us up, to steal our energy. They're just going to use it to prop up, to strengthen, for want of a better term, what has in recent times been called the matrix. It's like this structure of reality that is running on our energy for no good purpose. Right? And there are certain souls that are so implicated in that system that they're directing it in certain ways. So it could take more and more. Shadim, are these beings also called Shadim? Well, that's what Shadim do, which is one of the reasons why, if you can help it, you want to stay away from them. It's like my friend Mordechai doesn't want to really he doesn't really want to even know about the entities that are around. Now, some people, these entities are there, and for the most part, you're better off if you don't know anything. You don't want to. You're better off if you have nothing to do with them, unless you know how to have something to do with them. You have to know what they are, and because some of them you can actually, they have higher knowledge and stuff. You could learn a lot from them, but you have to have enough wisdom and enough zechut. You have to have the merit, so they don't notice you too much. Anyway, yes, you could call them shadim, but there is, like, the Zohar has a term. I don't really want to get too deep in this stuff, but the Zohar has a term. The Zohar uses the expression shadim Yehudaim, which literally you could say is Jewish demons. And but it's not, what it's talking about is human beings, because basically when you take the teaching of the Zohar out of its decrepit, obsolete, Judeo-centric perspective, and understand it as what it could mean with a planetary, all-inclusive, Tiferet-centered, Rachamim-centered perspective, then really it's just like when you say Vus Machta Yid, you're not saying how, it's literally how is a Jew doing, but when you say Vus Machta Yid in Yiddish, you're just saying how are you? So a Yid means a person. It doesn't have to mean It doesn't have to mean like a Jew, the Jews are the people and everybody else. No, that's ridiculous. So it's the same thing. So in other words, what I'm saying is that what the Zohar is saying is that there are people who are, and let me phrase it this way so we make no mistake, because I don't want to lapse into a dualism, which is not helpful. In other words, we have to understand that even the people who have chosen and are choosing a path that goes against the path of love and wisdom are doing that for the sake of the entire process, so that there will be shvirot and there will be things for us to fix. The Zohar also makes that clear. They're not doing it because there's like, as the dualistic, like the fundamentalists would think there's this Satan and this heart. There's something that other than the single divine power. There isn't anything other than the single divine power. But within the totality, there are powerful forces whose job is to create obstacles. Right? So that's the issue. You have people that who are playing the part of are playing the role of the bad guy. It's like you're watching the movie and there's the good guys and the bad guys, but they're all actors in a movie. And Zalman, I'm going to say something that Zalman used to get a lot of flack for, but I think in this cover I probably can say it. You won't be shocked. But Zalman one time said, and everybody jumped on him because they just weren't clear enough to see what he was saying. He said, when the curtain is called on this dream, Hitler will stand up and take a bow. Zalman said that. Why? Because there isn't anything other than the one divine being who is the screenwriter. There's only one screenwriter. Now it's kind of like a living theater. So within this living theater, the actors have a certain flexibility to improvise. That's called free will. It's like you're not just given lines that you have to absolutely read. You are given this creative opportunity to play a role, but the role you're given, you see. So within the role, you can do it. You can play it. You could try to be the best. The best version of that role. And you have flexibility, like how you're going to do it, how you're going to look, and all kinds of freedom in that. But the freedom to be other than that role, you don't have. It might even be, as crazy as this may sound, it might be that like, it's hard to know. I think I don't want to pursue it because it's just too deep for me. And that's all I want to say about it. That there's nobody that is not part of the same movie. And the screenwriter, everybody's the actor. They're not the screenwriter. They're kind of like, what did they, like Marlon Brando, what was that kind of acting called? Where the actor takes on the part, really gets into the part. And Strasberg was Lee Strasberg and all. Anyway, that's cool. You get the point. So let's go on with a little more of this. But if a person is really so deep into the following of the influences of the Sitra Achra, then they can't see any light. But what Reb Nachman's told Reb Nosson is that when the situation is really schlecht, the more schlecht it is, the worse things look to you, the worse the situation you find yourself in, the stronger the attraction, the stronger the pull of the deepest truth becomes. And because that because it is present, and dafka in the worst circumstances, it has an opening to reach the person who's suffering the most. Says kasher yoreu chol leshuv el Hashem. Then there is, in the deepest darkness that a person could experience, a holy aspiration, regardless of what they did. Maybe the worst person in the world. They could be dafka because they, let's say they were on the Bina line and they exhausted. Actually, maybe they did so many terrible things we don't even want to think about them. But at a certain point, they'll have gotten to the worst of the worst. And there isn't any, they can't go any worse than that. And when they get to where they've exhausted the worst of the worst, that's where there's an opportunity, there's an opening for the spark of holiness, which was present in them all along. But they didn't have the power to reach it, and they didn't have the grace to transform it. But ultimately can come a point where they get an arousal, they get a spiritual arousal, but under that state. So what he says, kasher lo ma'od lehitpalel u'daber diburim lifnei Hashem. But let's take it to a less extreme example. That let's say you're in a bad situation for a while, and you're experiencing disillusionment, disappointment, depression, you name it. But at the same time, because you're at least reached the level of the sur lehija esh, so there's a possibility of something that pilot light is still alive. There's still a little bit of a flame in your heart, and that flame has it has a desire to connect to reality, to connect to God. But because of all the disillusionment, the veils of darkness that are surrounding you on all sides, you can't really daven. You can't pray. Can't pray, and that's really the issue here. Ki hein misavavino to mikol side, because it's surrounded on all sides. You can't. In order to pray, your heart has to be free. You have to be able to open your heart. You pray from your heart. It has to be open. It has to be really malleable. Like you feel it opening, and you feel it breathing, you feel it contracting, you feel it expanding. That's where you pray from. But when you really have all this, you're experiencing so much suffering, you can't really, your heart is too constricted. And so you can't really open your mouth and pray. So as he says, and each one, it could be a little bit different for each person. Because it's impossible to really bring out something, to express something in the presence of God. It means with the energy of love and awe. The energy of love and awe, your heart has to be, real prayer is something that is a kind of use of energy. It's an expression of energy in which the heart vibrates between love and awe, between ava v'yira, and that's, which is the same. It is the same dialectic of ratzon v'shov. It's like the love draws you deeper and deeper to the one source, and you get drawn to a certain depth, and then that power of love that took you that deep reaches its end point. When it reaches its end point, then there is an energy that returns you back to where you are. Although you've made a little bit deeper, you got just a little bit deeper each time, but you're going a little deeper, and then you get, it's like 2 steps forward, 1 step back, 2 steps forward, 1. So you get a little bit more in, deeper, but you'd never go straight through. And that's the way it goes. So it's dynamical, deep inner, withdrawing a little. When you withdraw, because what it is, you see Reb Nachman describes this most beautifully, I think, in this story, in the 7 beggars, with the heart and the spring. It's like, why isn't the heart able to get to the spring? Because every time it tries to get to the spring, it loses sight of where it's going. Why does it lose sight of where it's going? Because the deeper you go, the more you're getting into non-duality. And if you get into complete non-duality, then there's no place to go. But the heart's very nature is longing, it's love. And so it has to have a beloved. And if it goes so deep if it goes so deep, then it gets into the place where there's no difference between the lover and the beloved, then it can't be the heart anymore. So, but the world has to have a heart, and everything in it has to have a heart. So in order for the heart to be able to be a heart, it has to ritzov its v'shov. It has to approach and draw back. It has to go in, it has to go towards and step back. And it goes closer, deeper, but then it steps back so it can see the beloved again. Because every time it sees the beloved, it has the longing, which is the energy, the desire that gets it to go even deeper. And that's what that is what the process of prayer is in its pure sense. That's what prayer really is. It is the expression of the heart's love for its source. It's the recognition. It's the heart allowing itself to love its source, to recognize and love its source, and be drawn ever closer to it, and yet continue to return to its manifest separation, or let's not say separation, but rather distance. It puts itself in a different relationship, to put itself in the relationship where it can play its role and serve its purpose, because you don't want it to burn up in the flame of the ultimate reality, because then there's no heart in the world. Suppose all of those entities, all those beings, all those people who have evolved to the point in the world right now that they have a heart. Suppose all those people that have a heart would just be so drawn back to the source that they would be burned up like the moth in the flame. Then there would be no heart in the world. The world would have to wait till some other people would evolve, but in the meantime, there would be no heart. And the world cannot remain in existence without the heart in it. It has to have a heart. It has to have people with a heart, otherwise the world will not survive. So that's the role of the heart. Prayer is the role of the heart. So I want to continue with this. I'm not trying to get every word of this teaching, and nor do I want to just discard this teaching, because I think it is like maybe one of the most foundational teachings in all of the love, wisdom, Breslover tradition that comes from Reb Nachman. So I'm going to do it with what in the way I'm trying to learn this in the way that's called be'iyun, because we're going to go very deeply in it, not try to just fly through every word, but really get into it, because that's really what we got to get into the depths of this teaching, really get it. So what I want to say at this point, let me see if this is a place to do the segue. Let's do another sentence or two here. So, okay, that's what real prayer is a human activity or practice and experience in which a human being who has a heart and has knowledge of who it is, and what its source is, exercises the power of its heart through the fuel of love and awe, which the heart feels, in order to feed back to the source knowledge of the way it is feeling in this world, the way the heart of the world feels. That's what God is the source wants to know, but can't know from the top of the peak. It can only know from the vantage point of the heart of the world. So, okay, that's what real prayer is. And so he says, Lifnei Elokim, you have to bring out its dibur. It means its report. It has to report back through the feedback loop to the source of everything, what the divine heart actually feels as heart of this world, knowing what's going on in this world. It does that lifnei Elohim, b'dechilu rechimu, it's through its love and its awe, the chiyut and its energy, the chiyut that it has. It can't have, there's no prayer without chiyut, without energy. Not when we'll go, after we get far enough into this, at a certain point, we'll go to the Torah number 9, because that's where Reb Nachman talks about the tefillah b'koach. It was prayer with energy and power. And I'm not talking about just the prayer, that the practice for somebody who's on the Keter Etzon ray. So, but rather the energy that is without which there is no kind of prayer. So the chiyut is the three elements here of the prayer experience is that it relies on awe, on the feeling of awe, on the feeling of love, and on the pure energy, the pure divine energy, which is being sent, which is being used for the purpose of avoda. It's taking, the energy is filling every space, every place, and everything that anyone does is using that energy. But those who have a heart and have those who are embodying the heart of the world and have knowledge of its source are dedicating their energy for this purpose, for the purpose of being a prayer, somebody who is praying. And as the Gemara says, the highest level, we should be praying all the time. It's like if we were really tzaddikim, we would, every moment of our lives would be prayer. Every single moment. There is nothing else. Like it's really in the highest level. So, but to that, you'll have to be embodying love and awe and dedication of your energy for the sake of the avoda, as is required. And that's another way. The shorthand for that is you're davening with kavanah. That's what kavanah really means. And I think I should add here, because we should remember that really Hasidus is more, as I wanted to sort of suggest before, Hasidus, it comes from the Baal Shem Tov. The Baal Shem Tov is the embodiment of love and wisdom. And people talk about, well, what's the difference between Hasidus and Kabbalah? Kabbalah is really the side of Bina. It's the side of like endless splitting of hairs, with a million categories, a million worlds within worlds, Sfarim, Sfirot within Sfirot. You can't ever get to the end of the whole damn thing. And they had, so in the Kabbalists, you have like huge books, and like you get the Siddur of the Rashash, and every single thing that you do, like Reb Meir Morgenstern, God should bless him, at tzaddik on such a level. Have you ever seen him daven? He has his Siddur, like for one word or even one letter, he has a notebook with 25 pages. And he does every kavanah. I mean, God should bless him with it to be such a person that can do a vote on that level, but that is not Hasidus. And the proof is that you have a tradition. Meshulam Feibish mentions it in Yosher Divrei Emet. He said that he's discussing whether or not, we'll look at that at some point in the Yosher Divrei Emet shir. But the bottom line is that the Maggid Mezrit said, when he was asked about all the Lurianic Kavanot, it says that the Hasidim daven with the Kavanot. And what did the Maggid say? He said there's really only one Kavanah. And that Kavanah is Dveikus. This is what, if you're cleaving to God, if you just have a direct, you don't need like all these kavanot, all these fancy. Now look, I'm not, don't get me wrong, I'm not knocking at you, Mayor Morgenstern, God forbid. You know, I have the greatest respect for him. I mean, if there's a person in the world, he can actually do all these kavanas, but that's like not even 1 in a million can do that. So it doesn't make, for most people, it doesn't make any sense unless you're not at your man Morgenstern. But basically, what the Baal Shem Tov says, we need a lot more help, because we're getting to the end of this Shemitah. And when you get to the end of the Shemitah, which is Dafka, where we are finding ourselves, there's this shift between Gevurah to Rachamim. When you have an epochal shift like this, it is such a big change for the planet, for the construction of the souls, for the whole earth is going through a tremendous traumatic experience. Everything on the earth, the whole cosmos is affected by what is going on in the earth. And the earth is in like something. It's in a state of transformation that hasn't happened for thousands of years, maybe millions of years. It is that special, the time that we're in. And when you have a time like that, the upheaval is so great that you have this disparity between, on the one hand, so many things are shaken up that they recoil backwards. And so they're just it's like the impact of the energy that is changing the whole thing. It comes down, it shakes up the earth, and most people on it just get knocked in the wrong direction. They're not prepared to either overcome that energy on the Ratzon line, transform it as we're trying to do, and there's just not enough time to exhaust it all. So that's the only thing they can do is wait it out, and it will take its course. But that's the plight that we're in. So that's why the Baal Shem Tov said, we have to, in order to get from Gevurah to Rachamim, we have to strengthen the wisdom, love, ray. And that is why Hasidus came into the Jewish tradition. That's the whole reason. That is their basic reason, because we need more wisdom and love. We don't need more Gevurah. God forbid, that's the last thing we need, because we have too much of it. And to make the transition, so you want to make the transition to love and wisdom, we don't want the minutia either of the halacha or the Kabbalah. It's like you have to know 50 million things. What's the halacha for this? Or you have to know 50 million things. What's the kavanah for this? We don't have time for that. But when it comes to love, wisdom is something that it's immediate. You apply it immediately. You apply an antidote. That's what the Tibetans call it. What's the antidote that transforms an energy in such a way that a curse becomes a blessing? That's the path that we have to follow. And that's, Reb Nachman calls it the path of the good points. It was like, always look for the good point. As Reb Zalman said, if you get a bad dream, just give it a good interpretation. It's up to you. It's up to us. That's the freedom we have within this role. And it's maybe the most important freedom that we have. Okay, so I think maybe I'm just gonna, we'll continue this. This is, I think, deep enough for today. And so I think, I hope that it's, that Hashem gets nachas, and that the neshama of Reb Nachman, whose Yurtzeit was last week, and probably still hanging around here to see if we remember him. And so I'm sure he's blessing us and quelling, and I'm feeling really good to have been drawn into the love, wisdom ray from the Baal Shem Tov and Rebbe Nachman, Lev Yitzchak Medbedichev. All, in my opinion, for what it's worth, every single one of the great Rebbes are on this wave. And it modulates a little bit when you get to Polish Hasidus, but basically the whole root of Hasidus is the wisdom, love, ray. And if it weren't for that, I wouldn't be sitting here today, and maybe none of you would be either. We wouldn't be here. So I bless us. I hope that everyone here is really, your hearts are open, and you just feel how tremendously fortunate we are to have a tradition that in all the darkness that surrounds us reminds us that there is a love, wisdom ray, and that's who we really are. And that's what we're here to remember, and in remembering it, to be grateful, to get so much meaningfulness and joy out of, and that's what Reb Nachman meant. He said that in the bottom line, you could, if everything is terrible, he said, at least you should be able to be happy just because you're part of this tradition. But this is what I mean by this tradition, and it makes me just so happy to be a Jew. I wouldn't be a Jew if it weren't for the Baal Shem Tov and Reb Nachman. So thank God for them, and thank God for all of you, and thank God we have this chevra here, and I consider all of you part of this chevra. We're all, that's why we're here, and I hope those of you who can, I hope that you'll come back for the continuation, the sequel on Thursday, Im Yirtzeh Hashem. So blessings, love, and light of wisdom to all of you, and see you next time. Yirtzeh Hashem.